All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get started, and then I'll stop and just kind of see who's joining us because I can't see on my split screen too well, like who's joining. So I will stop from time to time just to check in on everyone. So I just want to say hi to everybody and thank you. Welcome back. This is episode 3. I'm super excited that people are joining, and I do see a lot of familiar faces from the last 2 episodes, so that's really exciting. This is episode 3 of Women Speaking Their Truth, Midlife Conversations. I'm Lana Jean Telles, Lana. My Substack is Worthy and Wild, and we are so excited that you're here tonight. I also want to just take a minute to say again how grateful I am to the women joining me throughout this entire series, and Sophia for joining me tonight. Krista wasn't able to join us tonight, but I know this is going to be a really great conversation with Sophia, so I'm really excited. Their stories, like I shared in the last 2 episodes, were originally shared in an article I wrote called Women Who Chose Truth in Midlife, and the response to that piece was really incredible. To me, it was really clear how deeply it resonated with people, and really this series going live grew from that. And I did share that in the last 2 episodes as well. I just wanted to take those stories a little deeper and move from reading them to actually hearing you guys talk about your stories in your own voices. So tonight, the conversation is about healing and starting again and what it looks like to find your way back to yourself. And while this was originally framed around burnout, what we're really talking about is something broader than that. Those seasons in life where something just isn't working anymore, or where you realize you've drifted further from yourself than you meant to. And I'm really grateful to have Sophia here with me tonight. So,
hi, everyone.
So, Sophia, I really would like you to start by just having you introduce yourself. You can take this wherever you would like, share a little bit about your story. And I really am interested how you got involved in Substack too. I ask that to everybody that comes on live. It's just really cool. I love Substack, and it's relatively new to me as well. So I'm just curious what brought you to Substack. But yeah, share some of your story and introduce yourself.
Okay. I'm Sophia, and I call myself the Chief Untangler. In my day job, I'm actually the chief of staff of a New York company. I work remotely, but I've always untangled. That's been my thing. I'm a problem solver, and so I've stuck with that name. And I just started on Substack, just over a month ago.
Wow.
And I found it because of Dan Coe and Justin Welsh, because I was subscribed to their newsletter.
Wow.
And then I thought, okay, let's check this out. And I love it. I've always had a problem with social media in general, but here it's so warm and loving and caring and connected. It's awesome. So that's how I got to Substack. You want me to tell some of my story?
Yeah, just a little bit about yourself, your, background.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I was born in Austria, and we immigrated to South Africa when I was 7. And so I basically grew up in South Africa, which is my accent. And in South Africa, I first became a goldsmith, and I had my own jewelry business for a long time. And but this is about healing, so I want to tell some of my story, because I always thought I was strong and in control of my life. And then I had a situation. I had 3 major relationships in South Africa, and the same woman interfered in all 3 of them.
Oh.
And that story woke me up. It basically broke me open. Until then I thought, I've got it all under control. But that thing broke me, and I realized that I have no control whatsoever, right? And the pain I felt because of that, I didn't know how to deal with it, and I had to get rid of it. So I was searching for answers. And people might wonder how this even came about, this. I wrote a book about it years ago when I was a divorce financial planner, and I've changed their names. But so in my book, I always talk about Tom, Dick, and Harry and Candy. I changed the names to protect the not so innocent.
Right.
So Tom was my first husband, and we moved to this town, this coastal town, and we were tennis players. And there was only one tennis club in the town. So that was our social circle and our sport. And we befriended this other couple, and we played cards with them, and we barbecued. And then I found out my husband and this woman, Candy, fell in love with each other. And because I was young, I got married at 21. I had no idea what love was. I don't think I ever truly loved him because I was too young to even understand the word. But in the midst of all that, I got pregnant with my first child, and that decided that we're carrying on with marriage, and that thing fizzled out, and then I had a second child 2 years later, and then 5 years later, we got divorced anyway. So I didn't have the big hurt yet, but then I had a boyfriend after that, Dick. and also a tennis player, of course. We're all at this, it's our sport. And we're all in the same circle. And I was with him for 2 years, and I discovered he was cheating on me with the same woman.
Wow.
And this time I was devastated because it made me look at myself and say, I'm the common denominator here. So what is it about me that keeps on attracting this? And that's where my true journey started of healing, finding the answers to understand life. And all my life, I had built walls around my heart to protect myself from getting hurt. But then this just broke it all down, and I didn't know what to do with it. I couldn't build them back up. So now I had to find the answers. And I did. I searched and searched. And the ultimate solution, and it took me a few years, was forgiveness, true forgiveness of Candy. Because we had the story together, right? And I discovered that she was just the trigger. She triggered something in me that was not yet healed from my childhood. And once I knew that and faced that, she no longer affected me. It was amazing. It actually happened in like a weekend. I went to a church talk, a woman that talked about inner healing, and she said that if your parents, while you were in the womb, ever talked about getting rid of you or abortion or adoption, you can actually pick it up in the womb, the anxiety of that, the rejection. And you can actually come out already feeling rejected, and then you react in either a girl, for example, a little girl might either become daddy's girl, all sweet, or you might be more like a tomboy, the other way, and tough so that you can't be rejected. And I was that one. Mm-hmm. So this situation broke that down. And so she had this talk, and then she was open to seeing people afterwards. Now, at that stage, whenever I saw Candy driving around town, I got that anxious feeling in the pit of my stomach. She triggered that in me. And so I saw her on the Friday in her car in town. Then I went to this talk. And when I saw this woman on my own, I actually wanted to find out about my son because something had happened while I was pregnant with my son, and I wanted to try and help him. What could I do to help him? And she said, no, I want to talk about you. I sensed something in you. And then she asked me about my childhood. And I said, yes, my parents were so young, 17 and 20. They were talking about abortion and adoption. And So she said she can sense that I was anxious already in the womb. And she asked me, being a Christian, she asked me to imagine a scenario where I felt not loved. And then she prayed about it and said, Jesus was always loving you in a way that your mother could never love you, unconditionally, and was always there. And she prayed, and I left there. And, I didn't really think much more about it. But then the Monday, I saw Candy in town in her car, and I felt nothing. It was gone, completely gone.
Wow.
And she never affected me again. And I know that because my third guy that I got into a relationship 2 years later, also a tennis player, we were together almost 3 years. And I realized, this is not good enough. I don't need a relationship. I need to focus more on more spiritual growth. And I broke up with him, and he was devastated. And guess what? On the rebound, he married Candy.
Wow.
It's worse than a soap opera, right?
That is crazy. You really did, I think, answer question 1 in that story. But because the question was there a time in your life where you realized something needed to shift, even if you couldn't fully name it yet? So, I mean, you did kind of answer that, but if you want to go a little deeper, like, did you ever sense, you talked about this woman pointing all that out to you about your childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Did it ever occur to you before that there was hurt there, or that something needed to be addressed?
Not really. There were moments in my life where I questioned myself. I thought, I don't feel like I'm capable of love. Like, I was watching people that are all emotional and all over, and in love and all that. And I didn't have that. And I thought there's something wrong with me. But I didn't realize until I went through that I had built all those walls around my heart because of the rejection. My parents, didn't really want me. They were too young. They were kids.
Right.
And so only when I then, was broken open and then going on this journey, then I discovered I definitely can feel. It's like, oh my gosh. But I didn't know how to cope with it because I'd never felt such emotional pain before, It's like the walls were just gone in a flash.
Right.
And that's basically, but I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't pinpoint it. And then I realized after all that Candy was put in my life to trigger that so that I can heal the root cause. She wasn't the cause. She was just like an instrument.
Right. So did that experience, I mean, obviously it did change how you saw yourself or how you wanted to live your life. Was that like the catalyst? Did anything no longer feel like it fit after that? Like,
yeah, I felt like a whole different person, and then I had to learn to also look at myself differently, because up until then, even though externally I looked quite feminine, I never felt feminine. And it's because, my dad, who was 20 when I was born, he wanted a boy also, and I was a girl. But then, so I'd never felt cherished as a girl. But then as I grew like a few years older, he actually saw that I was quite like smart, intelligent. And then he liked that, and he boosted me. He always said, "You're so smart." And then he also took time to do multiplication tables with me and everything from a young age. So then he was proud of me being smart. So then I was always, instead of being just a girl, I wanted to always show how smart and competent I am, right?
Yeah.
So now that this happened, now I would now start looking at myself differently and try and see the feminine, because I couldn't see it before.
Yeah.
And even if externally I looked feminine, I didn't see it, and so that changed me completely. But then, then later in life, after I moved to America, and I got married a second time, 7 years into that, my second husband wanted a divorce. I didn't want it, but and after that, I went into even more deep personal growth. And then I discovered more deeper things.
Wow.
So
what did that process of healing, finding your way back, look like for you? Was it something obviously you chose, or is it something that like unfolded over time? What helped you the most in that whole process?
Every time a relationship ended, I had a major growth period. And the one after my divorce, when I was 50, here in the States, was a long one, like 9 years of deep growth. I mean, I went all the different teachings, I was following all the different teachings from different people. And I just got to more of an understanding of the human condition and who we really are. And that we have this idea of ourselves, which is just an image. It's a mental image. The real us is not this mental image. The real us is that consciousness underneath it all. So I really grew a lot at that time and realized we are not what we think we are. What we think we are is just what we think we are. And basically that can change. It's almost like a developed personality and a self-image. Because the true person that we are, I think, is what's underneath that in when you're silent, when you're quiet. That's the real you.
Yeah.
So that's what I discovered.
Wow. So what made it, or was it hard for you to slow down and really tend to yourself during that time? What were the expectations, responsibilities? You talk about identity a little bit, but what?
Well, the problem was when I got divorced, I didn't want this divorce. And I had been a financial advisor and divorce financial planner in San Diego. And then I read The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. And I just got that bug, I want to have that freedom. And so I walked away from my financial services career because I sort of felt trapped. I liked coaching, financial coaching, and I liked helping people with the divorce planning and that. But what I didn't like, where I felt trapped, was when you're a financial advisor, you've got all these licenses and you have to put everything through compliance. So even the book I wrote back then, I couldn't really promote it because everything has to go through compliance. And so that felt like a noose around my neck. So 2 years earlier, my husband had been laid off after many years from a company. He was in drafting and design. And at the time I said, don't look for another job. You've been doing jobs on the side. Why don't you build your own business with us? I'm a born entrepreneur, so that's how my mind works. So I encouraged him. And he did. And he started building his business. And in those 2 years, I supported us, right? So now I read The 4-Hour Work Week. I walk away from my financial career thinking he will now support me while I now pursue this online business dream, right? But no, he wants a divorce. What I didn't know was that he actually fell for someone, but because he's not the cheating type, he wanted to be free to pursue her. So I only discovered that after we separated. And by the way, he never got her. She only ever was interested in him as a friend. So all that for nothing, basically. I think he's still single to this day, 14 years later or whatever. But but now what happened, the timing of the divorce was in 2009 when the markets had housing crash, right? So our house, which we bought at the height of the market, lost all its value and, we lost on it. And I had no career. I had no income. The timing sucked big time, right?
Yeah.
So I just had savings. I did have savings and I made them last a long time, I must say. So I pursued this online business dream, but at the same time I was going through this deep growth phase. So I was sort of split, I had this desire to go deeper and deeper, but then I also wanted to build the online business and it didn't really work. And I was depleting my savings. So at a certain stage, I moved to Oregon. The kids had moved there. My daughter had got married to a guy who's from here, Knoxville, where I am now. And they moved to Oregon, and I thought I'd check it out. And I liked it. I liked Ashland. And in Ashland, I started a tech business because I'm very tech savvy. I love technology. I was called Tech Savvy Sophia. So, people would call me, Tech Savvy Sophia, we need your help. I would go to their house and then sort out all their stuff and troubleshoot. And that business started taking off. But then my daughter, and they had a baby, my grandson, and decided to move here to Knoxville, where he's from. So, of course, I can't stay on the West Coast when my only family in the country is on the East Coast, right?
Yeah.
So I moved here too. And of course, the business just died because it wasn't really something I could take with me, except a few people that were okay with, remote. And then here I was. And here I couldn't start the same kind of business. So I ended up having to get a real job for the first time in 37 years.
Wow.
Being my own boss all that time, right? At 61, I got my first real job in the US as a account manager for 401ks. My financial background actually helped get this job. Even though I'd walked away from it, it was now helping me, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing, actually.
Yeah.
And,
I think that leads to my question, which is, what does starting again mean to you now? I feel like you've had to do that several times. But looking back at all, like, what does that mean to you now?
Well, I think starting again, I don't know if it's so much starting again as using what you already know and have and just, use it in a different way. And one thing that I learned from this experience is not to hold on too tightly, because I stubbornly, for far too long, held on to the idea is that I must make this online business work. And I am an entrepreneur. There's no way I can work for someone, right? I mean, from the age of 23, I had my own businesses. I was self-employed. And finally, with the savings running out, I had to do this. Yeah. And at 61, can you believe it? I get my first US job at 61. It's which, hey, ladies, if you doubt yourself, it's never too late. I just want to tell you, it's just a matter how you present yourself, right? And from that job, I got one of the accounts. The CFO loved me and hired me away at 63. And I still do. I'm the chief of staff. I still do that after 4 years. And But I have engineered a lot of free time for myself because of my love of systems and tech. So I have all this time to spend on Substack now.
That's
as
awesome.
well.
You are such a testament to midlife and just that not, I think we sometimes do feel that way. I know myself included in that, I'm getting too old or it's too late. I mean, I just love that viewpoint that you have of that. Just, it's not starting over, it's using your skills. It's you're just doing something different. It's not starting over. I think that's it's just fabulous, because I think some of us do get hung up on that. I think so. What would you say to a woman who feels disconnected from herself but doesn't know where to begin? What would you tell her?
First of all, I'd say just get over yourself, really. I've had to tell that to myself as well. Like, I stubbornly held on to thinking a certain way, that this is the way it has to be. And I was brought to the point where I had to capitulate and realize, okay, I have to get a job. So anybody out there what I can say is, the change might look very different than what you're thinking, and be open to that. Be open to all sorts of possibilities, because you never know. And sometimes something that might not look right for you at all might just be a stepping stone to a next thing. Because I could never have imagined myself working as an employee from the age of 61, but because that first job was a stepping stone to the current job, I am now working at a full-time job where I don't think I work more. I hope that you don't put this out everywhere. I hope my bosses don't see it. But if I work 10 hours a week, so I may not have succeeded at getting the 4-hour work week, but I've managed the 10-hour work week.
That sounds pretty good.
I would say to all women, question your beliefs. Like this thing of being too old. Rather look at all your skills and all your knowledge and all that experience, and see how you can present it in a different way. Like my CFO, my boss, he thinks I'm valuable because I'm seasoned, because I'm older. I've had so much experience with people, working with clients and customers, and then I've gained wisdom and discernment, which young people don't have. You have to have been through stuff to have that. So it's actually my age that is working for this job. So ladies, question your beliefs, because look at me. It's purely about getting out of your own way, I think.
Yeah, very well said. I feel like this has been such a very honest and meaningful conversation, for sure. I really thank you for being so open. I do have one last question for you that I ask everyone.
Yeah.
Is, what is one thing you know for sure in this season of your life?
Okay, I think I was thinking about that. Well, one of my favorite quotes is from Joseph Campbell. We must be willing to let go of the life we planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us. So I know for sure that we don't really have any control of what happens to us. We can just control how we react to it, how we think about it. And to get more into alignment, we need to think less, because we get into our own way. We just get in the way.
Yeah. I agree with that.
And in order to have a really joyful life, you have to get in alignment. And the only way to get in alignment with what's right for you, the life that is waiting for you, you have to be silent. It comes in silence, getting out of your head and just being and listening. And then you can start really hearing, Like that's what happened to me leaving South Africa to go out into the world to find my new home somewhere without a plan. But I knew it was America, San Diego, actually, and I ended up in San Diego. But I just had that feeling and I followed it no matter how scary. So then I know for sure, get out of your own way and listen.
Yeah, I think that is so true. I think we do overthink as women. We overthink. We've been taught that. And yeah, it comes back to that whole, I talk a little bit sometimes about, your intuition and just, you have to drop that, just the mask and just, you're right, listen. I think that is so, I love that.
Yeah.
So my hope is that these conversations is that women listening feel less alone. I think you gave some fabulous advice. I think we do get in our own head way too much, and maybe begin to recognize something in themselves. So I really want to thank you for joining me tonight, Sophia, and thank everybody for being here and joining us. Christian said incredible story. I would agree with that. But thank you so much. I don't know if there's any last words you want to say, or if you want to invite people to your Substack.
Come follow me, subscribe if this resonates. One of the nice things about Substack, I've now realized I've let go of that anxiety thing that you have on other social media platforms. And all I'm doing is putting out whoever I am, and then whoever it resonates with, come and join me.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. I love it. I have enjoyed this conversation so much. And I want to thank everybody who joined us tonight. This was awesome. And we'll see you next week for episode 4. So thank you, everyone. And thank you, Sophia. Have a good night, everybody. And thank you, Rhonda. I see so many people that have joined that keep coming back. And so we're really nice to see you. She said it feels like finally trusting what is already there. Thank you once again.
Yes.
So thank you.
Absolutely. Rhonda. It's already there.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Have a good night. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.